The following episode contains content discussing violence, including some causes and repercussions of these choices. We acknowledge that this content can be difficult and complex, even beyond what is discussed in this episode. This content may not be suitable for some audience members, and some may be triggered by the information discussed. We encourage you to use your discernment both here and with all media sources. Please continue caring for yourself, your well-being, family, and loved ones. If you have any questions or concerns regarding this topic today, we encourage you to consult with your licensed healthcare provider, mental health care provider, or your mental health support team. Thank you, and we love you all. Prior to this recording, Shira and I had been discussing the recent tragic events that began over the weekend of October 6, 2023. We initially began this recording with the intention only to test the audio levels. However, what began as a private conversation continued and resulted in this episode that we are about to share. Not all of the views or discussions expressed in this recording directly correlate to the recent tragedies. And while we do not pretend to have the answers, we encourage each of you to take time to reflect on your reactions and opinions. Hopefully, we can find space to allow our hearts to lead us towards greater understanding and compassion for one another.
All right.
What a day. What a weekend.
What a what? It's never ending. It's never ending. It's not supposed to be ending. If it was ending, we wouldn't be here anymore, but you know.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the hard thing, though, is also accepting that, like, from one perspective, we see these lives that have ended and we perceive it as before their time.
Yeah.
Do we know that that wasn't a part of their soul contract?
Well, I think it's, how do I say this? I think it's a very human experience for us to feel like we need to have proof and validation for what it is that we know true to be in our hearts. And for me, I know that it's true in the experiences that I've had, that it is part of the experience that we did sign up for individually and collectively.
Right.
And that's a hard pill to swallow, as it has been for anyone going through anything that's absolutely devastating and terrible. And it makes it worse in my head to say it out loud.
Right. And I think for sure it sounds so like it sounds cold, right?
Yeah.
Like that part of that thought process doesn't mean it's not true. It's just in our human experience, because we experience the separation even greater after somebody passes or, has been especially taken in a violent way. It's hard to get to that acceptance of that possibility that their soul knew going into this life.
Well, I think that there's like a bit of a argument that, we don't have every step of the way mapped out. There's a lot of decision making that we're doing on the fly here, right? And I think that some of the big life-changing ones, I think that is something that is like a marker of sorts. Like if you're like looking at it like a drawing of a timeline, and you said, in this particular, physical experience that I'm going to have, I want to learn these three major life experiences while being a human. And although I think when those things can happen, and sometimes we make the free will choice, knowingly or unknowingly, mostly unknowingly, to say that no, I'm not doing that. And I think eventually it'll play out in maybe another way than
Mm.
maybe you had originally intended for it to play out in your like plan from a different perspective. But I think it will eventually happen.
What will eventually happen? Like the lesson.
Yeah, those high markers that you came to learn. I mean, our guides are sitting here working. I mean, they're not tirelessly because they don't experience that, but like they're working behind the scenes consistently to make sure that we hit those marks, you know, and to help us in any way that we ask. And sometimes what we feel is, I want world peace, right? Well, a majority of us don't have the peace within to experience it externally. Because if we did, we wouldn't fight each other. We wouldn't cause harm to somebody else.
I think some of that feeling justified in causing harm to others is the lack of resources that help a person to feel like they don't have to be in survival mode.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Um, I agree to that experience of lack mentality. I'll say that.
It's unfortunate because we think that, you know, we have this idea or this hope that we've grown enough as a world, that we've grown in our humanity, that we don't need to rely on those survival instincts anymore. However, I think that that is reserved more for certain populations that have greater access without worry or concern about not having access to the things that help people survive: food, water, medical, shelter.
Well, in the event we use this recording, I'll say this. Something I had said earlier to Carrie. I think I get irritated over the fact that we have put people in places in a power position to do a job for us, we the people, right? And yet those same individuals have gone from acting in a service to others to get where they are today to being service to self. And somehow, some way along the way, we've now become a population of people that, and I don't think this is true for everyone, because I see a lot of fighters out there, and I don't say that in like the physical fighting sense, but as in the mentality sense, that you get up every day and you set the goals and intentions to make change, right? So, man, well done. But for the majority of us that are struggling in our everyday lives in general, we're not in a great position to, which is why we put those other people in these positions to bring about these changes. And yet somehow we're always feeling like we can't help enough. Like we don't have the voice strong enough to make the change. Which is why usually these types of scenarios, to actually make something happen, to bring about some forward movement in a positive direction, you see a lot of ill will because people get frustrated. And that frustration turns to anger because it all stems from sadness or heartache for somebody else, for others, for individuals, for our brothers or sisters, our, family members, our cousins, or, you name it. And that's sad. It's so sad. Because I don't think we're powerless. And this is why, sometimes we talk and we have these conversations, and I'm like, because we've been told that we don't get a lot of views on our channel or a lot of listens on our podcast because we don't play into the negativity. And a lot of people want to see that. And that makes me even more sad. And I always like to rebuttal with, because somebody has to be the change, whether we start small, whether we stay small. We hope that this is something that's spread.
It's hard not to feel powerless in creating significant change.
It is. It is. And I hear it so often, and that's the part that probably breaks my heart the most, is that I hear it so often is the common theme of I feel stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do. And I experience it, which is why I can relate, and so for those of you that have a platform of like these thousands of followers, or you have a voice and you can help spread the messages that we are all connected, that we all are made from the same source of love, and that when you affect one other person, that you are actually affecting yourself. If we can be that voice, if others that are even remotely come across our content and listen to this and has another message to spread, do it. We've been given this form of technology for a reason. So, welcome to Love Always Self podcast. I'm Shira.
I'm Karista. And today's a tough day.
And today's a tough day. There are events happening in our world that I think we all knew inevitably were coming. And they consistently have been going on.
Even though we have this access to technology, there's still so much that's not shared, that we are not privy to, that continues to happen, where technology is not, present. There are countries that are constantly fighting with each other, different groups of people, because they're needing to survive. Yeah. And as humanity, like as a whole, like we have enough to be able to share, to be able to give, so that people don't have to keep fighting. Like, don't have to keep inciting violence on people.
Well, it's wildly frustrating and maddening, and literally the definition of insanity on doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But where does anyone actually get off in thinking that by taking out another individual's life is the answer to a problem? It never has been.
It just perpetuates.
It perpetuates.
It's
exactly.
a hamster wheel. And unless we make the choice to finally get off the hamster wheel and create a new path, the path that's less traveled, it's not brand new. It's just overgrown, and people don't know how to find it. We can find it in our everyday lives, but in these big events, it's how do we highlight that this is not a road to peace, that violence does not create peace. Scarcity, having power over other people, controlling people's resources, it leads us back to that survival instinct.
I have like a million thoughts in my head at the moment that are running quite rampant. So I'll try to spit out a few of them at a time. We'll see how I do. One of my thoughts that I'm having right now with that question is, we talk and we promote, and we say this repeatedly, that looking within, loving yourself, it doesn't just mean I'm going to learn how to have more abundance in my life or even see it. It doesn't just mean that maybe, if I love myself more, I'll get physically fit. It doesn't just mean, or eat better, or want to eat better, or maybe I'll be more compassionate for others. It also means that you start to understand the connection we all have to one another. You start to feel You feel it in your core that no matter what, you don't want to harm somebody else. So if we can start with that, then maybe we stop. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but maybe we stop seeing people voting, thinking that they've met somebody who wants to change the world and puts them in power. And maybe that person who's worked on themselves and understands the meaning of consciousness and self-love and self-care and knowing that harming somebody else is an act of harming themselves, that they don't want to make those types of decisions. We won't have these types of leaders in place. Like I said, I don't know if that'll happen in my lifetime, but that spreads. That's literally spreads.
And holding that position of power accountable.
Because you want to help. You want to become somebody that sees the world in a better place. Like majority of us do. I don't know of a single person that I've met that I'm just like, they're like, nope, I want it all in flames. I want to see people die all the time. I don't know anybody like that. Now, that could be a result of the people I surround myself with. Maybe start there, but like, I don't know anybody like that. And a majority of those that either listen to this podcast, don't listen to this podcast, the things that I see on social media of you guys and making the creations that I've seen on there to help bring about some little form of laughter and joy into the everyday world, which a lot of us go and do these creations to do that, to spread a message of, hey, here I am in the world. Here's something funny. Here's something that'll make you smile. Here's something that just gives you a little spark for your day, right? Like a little bit of hope. So maybe we stop listening to those that insinuate, what's the word? Perpetuate violence. Don't give them so much of a platform to spread that.
That's a start. I know so many people that want to make change and want to be able to lift people up, and they want to give. And it's in our means for some of us to give a few dollars here and there, but those organizations, those funds that say they are helping, like, that's another level of accountability. Are those resources really getting to the people that need them? Or is that another form of a power struggle? I keep going back to this idea that when people feel like they have to do anything to survive, they don't know what else to do. And you and I have talked about this before, that the base feeling is not anger. It's fear. It's fear of being able to survive for themselves, for their families, for the loved ones around them, that they feel justified in their actions. We see this in the streets of the US, right? Like, violence occurring because people need a resource to be able to buy bread, to be able to buy food and water, or be able to pay for their homes. And it's maybe I'm wearing rose-colored glasses on this. I don't think it's because they want to harm other people the majority of the time. It's literally trying to survive. I don't know. Because, again, accurate information is limited and it can be one-sided.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But I don't think either side or any of us as nations are free of responsibility for, in some form, perpetuating the problem.
Definitely not. No, not a single one of us are free from responsibility. And I think that's the exact thought process that I was, playing out in our conversation earlier, is that it's very irritating because so many of us want to do something. And again, there's this thought that we're stuck in not being able to make a change. And for any of you that might be in the knowledge or skill set that know how to do that, comment below, share it with other people. Go on a live stream or just post a 60-second video with a guide on how to do that. Not all of us are equipped for that. Not all of us studied, in school to know how to do that. Or have the wherewithal, to make that possible. What we have is a small platform of followers that, quite honestly, we freaking love you.
Yes.
And y'all keep us going, and this is how we can do it. This is what we know how to do. Be a voice that hopefully you're willing to listen to. And starting from there, that's what we know how to do. And I hope that for those that are struggling, Lord knows I have struggled financially. It might not look like that now, but I did not come from an highly grossed economic background. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not how my life started. But I educated myself. I met people that were wonderful support systems. I mean, maybe not financially, but mentally, and it made me a more ambitious person. And that's how I was able to get out of that cycle for my family. And so those are choices and decisions that I made. Now, I'm going to say this because I do think that there is a lot of suppression in a lot of areas, and they are maddening because these are decisions that were made by people. Usually, we have the means across this world to be in a united front of, hey, everyone should have clean drinking water. Everyone should have free energy and clean energy and energy solutions, right? I mean, these are basic elements of us being human beings, and yet we pay for them every day. And I really hope that I don't get contacted by anybody for saying this, but these are basic human elements that we all live by and that we all should have. And yet somehow, some way, we have allowed as human beings for us to set up a system and a policy around, you have to pay for it.
And you have to struggle for it.
And you have to struggle for it.
And I think this is part of what makes me so sad is, as a nurse, I have a skill set, but I can't not work. Otherwise, I can't pay my bills. Won't be able to buy food.
Yeah.
And that's part of that feeling stuck. Living paycheck to paycheck does not allow for being able to step away and physically help if you have a skill set. It does not allow for you to, give much money to be able to feel like you're actually making a dent. And again, how do we know that these organizations that we contribute to are really providing the resources to the people that need them?
We demand transparency, for one. Where is my money going? Show me the trail, right? That's one.
That's accountability for sure.
That's accountability for sure. Because if you have that in every foundation, I don't know, like the Red Cross, and if we could see that, then you're less likely, knowing that you've got all eyes on me, to do something poorly. Like, I don't know, contribute it to a politician versus putting it in the family's homes. So that's the thought. I don't have the answers to all of these, by the way. I don't have the answers to all of the issues. So, but I'm going to start there. That's one thing that I've always thought about, and don't understand why we don't demand that. Literally,
where do our taxes go?
Traceability to all of this. Give us visibility into what it is that we're working so hard towards. Simple, one would think. For those that have discovered ways of providing clean water solutions or free and clean energy solutions.
Not suppressing that information because of greed, because you can't make money off of that.
That's exactly right. So that doesn't make any sense. I look at solutions like AI, for instance, right? Like what ChatGPT did. And they made it open source and they gave everybody the information and they said, go forth and prosper. And now within months, I've seen some of the coolest things I've ever seen, right? Imagine what somebody would do. All the brains on this planet would have access to.
It's so unfortunate because there have been people that have discovered ways to provide these types of free things.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And yet their ego set in. Had they just posted it publicly, their findings, you can't stop it once it grows. They can't take it all down. You know what I'm saying? They can certainly try, but then that would cause visibility into them trying. And then that would become a problem for them, I'm sure, as well, too. Like I said, kind of like the AI solution, right? So this is...
We definitely don't have the answers.
No.
But we can see the problems. And I don't know if you said it during this or in our conversation prior to recording, but that definition of insanity.
Yeah.
That we keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results.
Yep.
Like I'm going back to that cycle of violence. Like when you harm somebody, whether it's them or a loved one, they feel justified in retaliation. And then we harm the next person. And then they feel justified in retaliation as well. And it just perpetuates. And it's a generational perpetuation at this point. And it's been going on for centuries.
It's interesting that you said that because I had a thought about this recently and some of the things that I've discovered recently. Generational behaviors can be stopped and it can stop with you. It is a decision to continue it. It is a decision to ignore the feelings that you're experiencing. It is an absolute decision to continue perpetuating the behaviors that you know are not good for you anymore or anyone else around you. You know, because you feel it, when you are causing harm to someone else or yourself. And to continue deciding that it's okay to sit here in this and just decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to do my best to not hold any judgment towards you. I'm human. I'm human. But like I get really frustrated with that thought process. I do, because I know that you have a choice in it. I know that you can decide, you know what? It stops today. It stops here right now. I will no longer act in a way that will cause harm to myself or somebody else. Now, there are those that have like actual like instability chemically, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a lot harder. You're fighting a lot of stuff there, right? Not just your personal demons in that sense. But get help. Get help. But it has to start with you. It has to be something that you choose to do. That's the point.
I think one of the other maybe tougher things is, and I don't want to come off as callous or flippant in this, but there's also a level of learning how to forgive. And I can't imagine what some of these families are going through, the pain and the suffering, the grieving that they're going through. And I can only imagine that this can feel next to impossible.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've seen people that have had family members be able to reach to that point of forgiveness. That doesn't mean it hurts less. That doesn't mean you grieve any less. But it's a step off of that hamster wheel.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I lost a sibling in an act of violence. And so I can wholeheartedly say that the amount of anger, had I been the right age and didn't have the wherewithal to try to look at it in a different direction, in the sense of that beyond everything I could think of, find that forgiveness. And you know, that's it's tough. It's absolutely tough and it's hard, and I know that. But we can rise to that occasion. Literally speaking from experience, we can rise to that occasion. We can be that person that will not perpetuate the violence. Nor do I believe that that's something that, from that perspective, knowing what I've been able to tap into, knowing what I've seen, knowing how I felt when in that state, like that type of anger towards what even happened to him doesn't exist in that place. This is a human experience that we're having. That type of emotion and feeling is only here. It's just your choice to believe that. That is my truth. So if they can do it from that side, then maybe we bring a little bit of that side here, you know? Does it invalidate the experience that you're having while here? Absolutely not. No, it doesn't. Does it mean at a flip of a switch, you're just supposed to be okay, regardless of the situation and when it happened? No, I am not saying that either. Will it help motivate you in becoming the change in the positive direction? I hope so. I hope so. Because that act of violence is what made sure that I did not want to be a violent person. Because that's what I chose. So yeah. Tough day.
Tough day. I pray that we remain open to the love that surrounds us all.
Yeah.
To the love that we are made with. I pray that we can each make that choice to be a part of the change.
I can't not cry when I talk about my brother, so it's impossible.
It's valid.
Yeah. But like a part of me like really wants to talk about, you see it with like children that grow up in families of a lot of chaos, and they tend to want to perpetuate the chaos, and it's like
I was thinking about that, about the cycle of violence within families too. And when that's what you know growing up, it takes a conscious decision not to perpetuate it and carry it on to the next generation. These experiences, my wish is that we can take them and learn from them. Learn that they don't work. There is no peace that comes with violence.
right.
Whether that's to a big group of people or to just one person. And again, I know that that choice is present and it's always available to be made. It's never too late to choose something different. I do believe that people can change. Maybe it won't happen with all of them. But I do believe, I am hopeful that it's possible for people to change.
Well, I'll say this about that statement because I'm with you 100% on all of it. But I'm going to challenge those that are listening to this with a thought. If the entire planet can somehow get on board from a fear-based thought process of the virus, an entire planet from a level of given fear all band together to start wearing a mask. Literally, anywhere in the world you go in a certain time of the years, that was happening. And everyone did it from a place of fear. Which means we are all 100% capable of making change globally. That's what that showed me. Now, here's hoping it doesn't always have to come from a fear-based situation. Yeah. That's my hope for the rest of humanity. Is that can we make a positive change without being so forced into fear to make it happen? But we saw it. We all saw it. So can we all band together that violence is not the answer? And how it's never really solved anything? To put some changes in place? But destroying innocent lives for some gain? That's not the way.
Mm-mm. How are you feeling about a card reading right now?
I thought it was kind of odd that all 4 of them came out at the same time and that we got 4. So we had pulled cards during a pretty in-depth discussion before hitting record, which actually we hit record to just test the microphone. So here's hoping that this one is recording.
Oh, shoot.
And then we got into a conversation and we figured we're just going to keep going. So all 4 cards when I was shuffling, which I had to sit quietly for a minute and I had to throw up my whole light protection thought process. And I got a really weird visual. Yeah, it was weird. Of a dolphin jumping out of the water with wings, holding a fish in its mouth, but playfully not to eat it. And then diving back into the water. And it was a very vivid visual, which I don't normally get them that strong when not trying to be in a meditative state. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. Not entirely sure what it means, but here's hoping. We didn't look up the symbolism, but that's what I got. And then as soon as I got that visual and I said it out loud, all 4 cards came out together, stuck together. Not stuck together like sticky, but just like together. So I'm hoping, because I was asking for a message for the collective, what is it that they need to heal from at this time? And that was so let's get into it. Collective card reading.
And this is how they were thrown on the table.
And we haven't moved them since.
Cuts again, this was a test run. Okay. So today we are using the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck by John Holland. I'm kind of tempted to just turn over all 4 at the same time.
Why not?
Okay.
Let's do something we haven't done before, like the rest of the world needs to do. Huh.
Yeah.
Go
figure.
First
one, transformation.
Yeah. Material and spiritual prosperity. Rejoice in
celebration.
Celebration.
Financial and material changes. Wow.
This keeps we pulled a card for ourselves earlier. Interestingly enough, the one I got for me was related to financial and material changes as well.
I mean, transformation. It's what's needed in how we respond
Yeah.
and how we support and how we treat other people.
For those of you that do follow tarot, this is a major arcana card. A time of endings is close at hand. Don't resist the abrupt changes that are suddenly happening in your life. These could be taking place in your personal life, relationships, business, or career. You have the strength, and the transformation card asks you to have courage and to know that renewal follows every conclusion.
This card, there's a woman with dark hair. She's wearing a green dress. It looks like gold fairy wings in the background.
I did find on the first card, it says you can't live in the past. It's time to move on. In order to take the next positive step, you should look closely at your own life and ask yourself, are there loose ends that need to be tied up? Are there people in my life whom I need to express myself to? What needs to be completed so I can have a fresh start? Transformation is all about the ebb and flow of life cycles. Nothing in this life remains motionless. Everything is on its way to somewhere. Poof. Transformation card's always interesting. Oh my gosh, and it's right next to the patience card. Why? It's like even when I don't pull the patience card, I get the patience card.
Reminders everywhere.
There are reminders everywhere.
The second card is material and spiritual prosperity, number 6. There is looks to be like a gentleman leaning against a balcony, facing out towards a garden with fountains right in front of him, trees lining the horizon.
They look like cypress trees. Yeah.
And a sun beyond that, big and bright. Again, one of the things we said was that we have enough in this world that we can all feel prosperous and safe.
Yeah. This is from the physical section of the spread or deck. The number 6 physical card represents a peaceful, tranquil time when problems seem to actually disappear. A time of prosperity, balance, and harmony in your physical and spiritual existence is showing you that the practice of giving and receiving will bring you true riches. Practice generosity, gratitude, and compassion so that you can continue to prosper in all areas of your life. So number 3 is an emotions card.
This card, the Rejoice and Celebration card, there are 3 hands holding chalices up, looking like they're clinking them together. There's a bunch of like bubbles in the background. Reminds me of like sparkly decorations.
Yeah.
And a big chalice behind all 3.
It's like they're cheersing the trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody having a drink in their hand makes me think of prosperity too.
I feel like everything that we're going through is supposed to be a transformation into that, right? We all hope that at the end of whatever road we're on, that it's for something better.
That we leave this place better than when we came into it.
Right. It's very interesting that this entire spread is all about abundance. And I don't just mean financial abundance, just abundance in something. A time of merriment, celebration, birth, success, and victory is at hand. You're doing what you love most and are pursuing your passion. When you follow your heart and intuition with zeal, there are no limits to what you can achieve when the energy of excitement and love is present. You can feel it moving within you. Somehow, love has a way of showing you that you're connected to something much larger than yourself. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Me too. And that's one of the important aspects to recognize is that we are all one.
I agree.
The final card is financial and material changes. On this card, there is a hand placed on a table and it looks like it's divided up by colors. So on the left, mostly green with a little bit of teal at the top. That's at the thumb, so it's the right hand. The forefinger and the top of the middle finger are in the oranges and reds. The ring finger, which the middle finger and the ring finger have rings on them, but the ring finger's in a purple hue. The table is a purple hue. And then the pinky is more like a blue indigo down into a green. The color of the hand is all slightly different too, so they're not the same people's hand. It like the thumb doesn't look, I don't know, it just looks.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was like, is that like an artist thing or filtering on the sections of the hand? But you're right. It doesn't look like it's the same, but yet it is because we're all connected, right? Mm-hmm. What I find interesting about this particular card is that it kind of shows us the polarity, right? The number 5 physical card, same as the physical card is number 6 as well, or the second card in the spread, represents changes, challenges, and losses, usually related to material or financial concerns. You may be losing some of the things around you, but you must acknowledge and know that besides existing as a physical being, you're an incredible and resourceful spiritual entity. Use your powerful forces within to help you through this difficult period. Everything changes for a reason, and this time isn't meant to be a punishment. I don't normally want to read the whole thing, but I'm going to. Know that your current conditions will transform for the better. A positive question to ask yourself now is, what did I learn from this, and how can I avoid it in the future? Remember that there are lessons to be understood in everything. It's up to you and you alone to decide how long it will take for you to learn them.
And there's that reminder that it's our choice.
Yep. Absolutely it is. Well, although this episode has been probably a little bit more somber than what you're used to from us, we're just as real as the person sitting next to you or in front of you. And
we couldn't deny the heaviness that was felt today.
Right.
And this is us being authentic.
Yeah.
We do prefer to promote positivity and love and compassion. And I don't think this is, completely void of all that.
Right.
Because ultimately that's what's needed more now than ever is that love, that compassion.
It always stays in the underlying message, even if it doesn't seem as apparent in what we're saying right then and there because we're expressing our own concerns. The underlying
even frustrations.
And frustrations, right? The underlying message is that we love you.
Yeah. We do have one announcement that we wanted to make. We are needing to work on our own time management and how our energy is spread. So we've decided that because we are working on other endeavors, that we are actually going to reduce down to twice a month.
Yes.
So after this episode, we will be moving from every week to the first and third week of the month. We will be releasing new episodes same day, Wednesdays.
On Wednesdays. And we've hinted at this before, and you might have seen it somewhere down in the description, but we are also working on a business that we are extremely excited about, and it does take time, and you will know more, and you will see more.
We are still working on our education around it, so that's why we haven't quite launched it or shared it fully yet. So that's part of the reason why we need to cut back on this, is so we can complete that certification and move forward.
So we're still doing all this with day jobs. So
one final thought.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to diminish our ability to send love and light.
Absolutely.
And I know that it doesn't feel like much. I struggle with that too. I struggle with that. I want to do more. I want to create bigger change. I want to affect the world in a bigger way. However, right now, I know that this is what I can do, is take time, take a few moments, minutes, whatever you have, and envision the world wrapped in love, sending love to those individuals that are grieving, that are in pain, thanking the souls that have exited for their time here, for the love that they were able to share with us here on this world, for those that are left. And I challenge you even to send love to those that are doing the things that we are speaking against.
Yes.
They too need love. And that's not saying, when we send love to them, that's not saying that what they're doing is okay. Right. By any means. But they too are a part of us as one. And we all need it.
Absolutely.
So, with that, don't forget to love first.
Love last.
And love always.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shira.
And until next time, remember to love first,
love last,
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.